Hey class, welcome to week 11, which is the final week of Project 3. So I want to congratulate you all on making it this far, on completing all the work that you've been doing. I've been really impressed with what I've seen. I know I say that every time we close out a project, but again, you guys are improving in really interesting ways and really doing some really good things in your writing. So I'm pleased to see that. And so what I want to do for this week is to talk about any concerns that I've heard lately about Project 3, and then to start to think about where we're going next, because this is going to be another one of those transition weeks where we are completing one project and looking into the next one, how it's going to tie into that one. So first up, let's go over the weekly schedule, and then we'll move on to that stuff. So again, for the most part, this week is a work week. However, there is some kind of light reading that you should be doing in order to prepare for the next project. And so what I'm going to ask you guys to read for this week are this introduction, CARS. This CARS stands for Creating a Research Space. And you'll find that at this link right here. And so when you click this link, it'll bring you to this page right here. And I'll go over that here in a second. The other thing that we're going to read for this week is Chapter 3 out of our Wordsworth Guide, which is going to kind of teach us about writing a research proposal, which is Project 4. And so the other things that you should be focusing on this week, obviously, are finishing your draft of Project 3A, that lit review, and uploading it by Sunday. As I said in my last video, I won't be making as extensive comments on Project 3 that I did on Project 2. However, you are more than welcome to Skype in with me, in which case we can walk through the project together. Those appointments are first come, first served, and so if you are thinking about setting up a conference, please do so, or we can always do like kind of group conferences, whatever we need to do to fit you guys in. So what I want to do now is to think about what you're doing in some of the concerns that you've had. So I know a lot of you are thinking about questions of, what is, like, how am I synthesizing these things enough? How much detail to bring in? What kind of evidence should I be using? And so what I want you to do is, if you're having these questions, is to return to the videos that we've gone over in the sample that we looked at together. I think it was under, let's take a look. Yeah, right here. So this is under week 8. And so if you come back down to here and watch this again, now that you've had some time to work on this project, and some of the things that we're talking about in that video might make a little bit more sense. Because what I'm doing in that video is, again, walking you through that sample essay on Project 3, this sample right here. In fact, we can take a look at that again. And so if you're concerned about completing Project 3, or if you're having questions or anything like that, then obviously schedule a conference with me. However, we can just kind of go over it again briefly. And so you guys had a chance to do an introduction, right? I looked at those. Those look really good. Remember the introduction. You're introducing your topic. You're introducing your stake in the issue, and you're introducing just kind of a general definition of what the problem is or your community. And so once you get into the actual essay itself, you're probably noticing that your sources are all kind of coalescing around a couple of different main topics, whether it's history or, in this case, gender and things like that. And so that's how you should be thinking about grouping your topics. Because remember, your focus for this project is to take the sources that you've found so far and to show how they're talking to each other, how they're in communication, in conversation with each other around this topic. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just work through your research, explaining what you found, and kind of giving your reader the kind of main arguments from these sources, with like a quote or two in there, and then just saying and using those kind of transitions to connect these things together. Author A disagrees with author B when she says this, or author A and author B are coming to the same conclusions when they say this, right? And so the idea is that you're showing those connections by providing those main arguments from the text and by providing examples of those arguments. So a quote that represents that main argument, or a paraphrase, or whatever. And I want you to try to use at least one example from the text for each source, because that'll give us that good sense of what they're actually saying, and it's good practice for using sources. And so as you're looking at this this sample again under the week 8, you'll see that's exactly what this author is doing. So we get the author, and we get the quote here with the reference to the source, right? And that's all we're doing, is they're just kind of explaining what author 1 says and explaining what author 2 says, and kind of connecting those things together. And then when the author gets to a new topic, we've got a new header, right? And so we're going to explain what this author says, explain what this author says. And that moment of synthesis comes when you're talking about how these things are in conversation. And so when you're saying like both of these authors, Linda Dahl, which is that first author that person references, and author B are both trying to work through this idea of women in history. Linda Dahl says this, author B says this, right? And so what you're doing is you're bringing those two sources together and showing like, look, these two things are connected around this topic, and that's your goal for each of your sources. Now, the beauty of these headers that we have here is that you shouldn't have to feel like you have to tie all 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever sources that you have, all of them together into one kind of nice knit ball or whatever. But rather you can tie like 2 authors together here, then 2 authors down here for this header, and then like 2 more authors. But the idea is that all of these different little subtopics are still related to that overall idea. And so you'll see here in this essay that all of these subtopics are related to women in jazz, right? So some of them are talking about the history of women in jazz, some of them are talking about participation of women in jazz, whatever it is. But there's still that of women in jazz header. So if you're doing something like, the economy or the medical field, you might do like, the cost of healthcare, the common practices of healthcare, practitioners or whatever. Like it's all going to that kind of main topic. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so again, if you have any questions on that, or if you want to go over that again together, then I'm happy to do that. But again, look at that Project 3A walkthrough video that I put under week 8, and then hopefully that'll clear up some things. So let's go back to this week then, and kind of go over the kind of transitionary work that we're going to be doing. So as I said, you're going to be reading this source, and it's not so much reading as it is just looking at it. And so what this is, this CARS, we call it the CARS model, creating a research space. You might recognize Swales from our reading at the beginning of the semester with that discourse community. So it's the same guy, and he's giving us a way to think about how authors can contribute new knowledge to the field. And so one of the things that we're going to be focusing on, in fact, the main thing we're going to be focusing on in Project 4, is for you to now come in and make your own new, unique argument about the topic that you've been researching. And so if it's been, something healthcare related, or if it's been, in this case, women in jazz and that sample, it's now your responsibility to make an argument of your own. And the reason that we're doing it in this way is because to make a concrete, well thought out, and well executed argument, you need to have a lot of research in your pocket. And so that's what Project 3 was and is. Project 3 essentially is the research process for writing an argumentative essay, like Project 4. And so you can think of these 2 essays as kind of 2 essays in one, or 1 essay in 2, however you want to think about it. Essentially what you'll be doing is you'll be using your literature review with maybe some minor revisions as a really big part of Project 4. And so you'll be taking large chunks of your literature review and just putting them into your research proposal and using that as a way to set yourself up to make an argument. In other words, what you'll do is you'll say, like, look, here's the problem that I identified. Here's what people have said about this problem. Now here's my new idea. And that's what the CARS model is outlining for you guys. So let's take a look. So there's 3 moves that you have to do in order to say something new effectively, in order to contribute to the field as an expert. The first thing that you have to do is to establish a territory. You have to claim the thing that you're talking about is important and why. So why is this a problem that we should care about? You can be making topic generalizations. So you can say, like, look, this is generally how this topic works in this field. And then you'll be reviewing previous research, which is your lit review. Now, most of these things you're already starting to do, especially this one, obviously, you're already starting to do in Project 3. And so your goal then is to just flesh this out in Project 4 to say, like, look, this is an important topic, and here's why it's important. Okay. So, again, this is pretty much the work you've already started to do. Now, in order to say something new, there's a couple ways that we can do this. Now that you've had a chance to read a lot of arguments about this topic, it's up to you to figure out how you want to approach this topic yourself. So you can counterclaim, which means you can disagree with the things that you read. You can say, like, look, this is what everyone has said, but I think they're wrong, and here's why, and here's what I think we should do. you could indicate a gap in the scholarship. You could say, for example, all of these things are really good. However, none of them really examine this aspect of the problem. And that's what I want to do. And so a research proposal, you're proposing an investigation into this topic. You can question raise. So you can say, like, look, there's all these things that have been said about this topic. However, what about this? And I propose that we ask these questions and examine these questions. And then you can just, you can just continue a tradition. You can say, like, look, these are all really good. And this one in particular is really interesting. Author C proposes this idea that's, I think, going to be a good idea. However, I think we could maybe extend it further. And so these are the 4 ways that you say something new. And basically, you'll be doing one of these. You can disagree with your sources. You can identify a gap, something they're not talking about. You can ask questions about some of the things that they've said, or you can just argue to continue to extend some of their ideas and research. And so essentially, this is kind of where your thesis statement will come in. Now, again, all of this will become much more clear next week when we look at the project 4 description, but this is kind of where we're going. Finally, what you'll do in this kind of CARS model is you'll outline your purpose, so like why you're doing this or why this would address the issue. Again, kind of returning to that present research that supports the idea that this might actually fix the problem. And then for this one, announcing principal findings, what you're going to be doing in this case is just think about like what would the effects be if your idea comes true, and then just kind of broadcasting your overall structure, so your methodology, basically. So again, what I want you to do is just kind of look through this, kind of get a sense of it, and again, it'll become much more clear next week. But this is where we're going. This is a project 4 in a nutshell. Now that you've done a lot of good research, you're going to put that research to work by making an argument of your own, using that research as evidence to support the claims that you're making, essentially. Okay, so let's just kind of review for the week. Again, your focus should obviously be on Project 3. Get Project 3 done, get it turned in. The Dropbox is open, so just focus on that, get that done. Let me know if you have any questions, and then take a look at this reading, and we will get ready for our next project. All right, guys, if you need anything at all, Skype conversations, whatever you need, just email me, and we will figure out a way to make you comfortable, get you into a space where you feel like you can complete this project, whatever you need to do. If you need to, just email me and say, I have no frickin' idea what I'm doing, please help. I'm here for that too. So let me know, guys, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.